And welcome back to Morning Light, 8:31. My name is Simon Rusnak, your guest host, sitting in for Michael Walsh. And what happens when you mix two jazz players with a heritage spanning from Chile to Russia? I'm not too sure. Thankfully, I'm joined by those two players now, Jaime Carrasco and Jesse Krause, who are going to give us a little sample of that magic in this 8 o'clock hour of Morning Light with your next installment of Birchwood Jaguar 107 Live.
From the Classic 107 studios in downtown Winnipeg, 107 Live for Birchwood Jaguar, the art of performance.
Sonne der Gerechtigkeit, gehe auf zu unsere Zeit. Brich in deiner Kirche ein, dass die Welt es sehen kann. Brich in deiner Kirche ein, dass die Welt es sehen kann. Schaue die Zerrennung an, der kein Mensch sonst wehren kann. Sammel große Menschen hier, alles was sich hat für ihn. Kraft, Lorbeer und Herrlichkeit sei dem Höchsten alle Zeit. Der wir ist Der wir ist drein und in Himmel ist eine
Guys, that was really, really awesome. Live in the Classic 107 studio, you just heard Jaime Carrasco and Jesse Krause. Guy, come on over here. Let's talk a little bit more about the show. That was really outstanding. I just want to begin by asking, what was that song about, Jesse? You were singing there.
That was a deep cut from the Gesangbuch der Mennoniten, or
A deep cut.
Yeah, when I didn't grow up singing it, but in searching through the book, looking for stuff that was appropriate to kind of revamp
What a tune that is. I mean, it's really haunting almost, and what you guys have done with it's such engaging music. I couldn't help but bob along here in the studio. It's such engaging music. So I want to begin by saying, this is part of the New Sound series put on by JazzWinnipeg, and it's a 4-concert series that gives performers the opportunity to explore new, risky ideas. But what you guys have done for this show is look back to your past and updated them with jazz traditions. What have you discovered in doing this?
If you add a groove to anything, it feels really good.
Well, on top of that as well, we found there's a lot more common threads than we thought initially,
Right.
surprisingly, like as far as our roots go. I mean, with Jesse's Russian Mennonite background, the Mennonite, he also used some German Lutheran tunes, and all of a sudden it hit me. So anyhow, some background. So I'm from Chile, and I came here 9 months after the coup in '73, and it was the Lutheran Church that sponsored us to come to Canada. So I was like, oh, there's a connection there, and then it just kind of snowballed after that. Some other common threads in the material itself, influences and whatnot.
Well, I was curious, can you expand a little bit more on that idea of the musical influences and the similarities you found between them? Because I think it's really easy to see, maybe the disparities between them, the differences. But what have you found in bringing these two styles together? I mean, adding that groove to selections from the Mennonite Songbook. I mean, what brings them together?
Yeah, I suppose it's possible that we'd sort of self-selected for melodies that kind of fit with one another, but there was a lot of room to do that. There is a lot of overlap in the ways that the melodies are constructed, and
Well, thematically as well. I mean, the stuff that I chose is essentially protest music of the early 70s. But so even with Jesse's material, some of it devotional, but in terms of the passion, similar themes in terms of the passion towards achieving some sort of a goal.
It's music that really resonates deeply, right, on a number of different levels. How did you get this idea to come together? I know, Jaime, you've performed together alongside Jesse in your band and everything else, but this particular, have you guys ever fronted an ensemble together before?
No.
No, so how did this all come together? How did you guys come to meet each other?
Jesse fronted Flying Fox.
He did, and the Hunter-Gatherers.
And I was the last touring drummer in that project, and that's how I met Jesse.
Yeah.
And then when the deadline was coming up on the New Sounds, I thought it would be so great to collaborate with Jesse again, but we need to put some thought into it. And I feel that Jesse really rose to the challenge. He's never sung songs in Spanish before, and he's singing in Spanish.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
How's that experience been for you, Jesse?
It's been great. I've been told I sound a little bit more like a Spaniard than a Chileno, but my guitar was made in Spain. So
the
Chilean accent is a tricky one. So,
I mean, Jaime, you touched very briefly on your background a little bit, and I was wondering if we could just touch a little bit more on that idea. You're a drummer, like you said, born in Chile. You came here to Winnipeg. What brought you to the drums those years ago?
Oh, well, the folks said I was playing on the pots and pans when I was still living in Chile too, but they just never nurtured that idea. But then, we were uprooted, so, things were put on the back burner,
of course,
for obvious reasons. But for me, it was the immediacy of it. Percussion, you just strike something and it's immediately there. And I wasn't the type of temperament that was going to deal with a string instrument where you're just dealing with intonation for the first X amount of time, right? I wanted it now, right? Like, this is, long before our instant gratification society and whatnot. but anyhow, that drew me to percussion, and I mean, if it wasn't for that, I would never have met Jesse, to be honest.
Yeah. And then Jesse, with you, I mean, you're also not originally from Winnipeg, right?
That's true. I grew up
from
in British
BC?
Columbia. Yeah.
Nice. And then you came here a few years back.
Yeah.
I was curious, in terms of your musical background, how's it influenced you not only as a performer, as we just heard now, but as a composer, as a conductor, and as a musical maker, which is pretty darn cool.
Yeah. Well, I grew up, in sort of a classical stream, did Orff and played my recorders, and then quit the piano because I didn't take to it. I don't know, maybe it was too immediate. I'm not sure. So then I switched to the cello and got into stringed instruments that way, and I don't know. I suppose there's some German through line that hymns, the music that I grew up with in the church, is always sort of a little bit more in line with classical music, and I grew up in a very musical community, and so that was always a part of it, and it was just kind of the water that I was floating on, and never really realized it until I got a bit older. That I was really grateful for this experience that it had so much of this growing up. So that's pushed me to have a strong foundation that I can sort of experiment from. Everything that I've done in the past year has been very different from everything else, and it's been interesting. Not different from everything else in the world, but everything else that I've done up to this point.
Yeah. So this show, Chilean and Mennonite Migrant Stories, I'm just wondering, the tunes that you're performing and that you're selecting, these are obviously your own arrangements, right, that you guys are doing? Or are you basing them on something existing?
Some of them are our own. I've done arrangements of the German and Russian ones. Right. And some of them are lifted from Violeta Parra's music.
Parra and Victor Jara, and I've enlisted the help. Actually, some of the guys in the ensemble have arranged several pieces as well. Kevin Curtis, the pianist, has arranged a couple of the Chilean tunes, and my good friend Victor Lopez, who's playing guitar, also did a couple of the arrangements.
That's wonderful. And the last thing I want to ask you, how many are performing in the ensemble with you guys up on the stage?
It will be a sextet.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I mean, like, two of you here in the studio at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning sounds absolutely awesome. To get all of you up on the stage, I can only imagine the groove and the feel that's going to be there, just how deeply it reverberates. I want to thank you both so much for coming by the Classic 107 studio this morning.
Thanks so much for having us.
It's our pleasure. Before you guys go, can you play one more?
Sure. This one is a Victor Jara tune called Te Recuerdo Amanda.
Perfect. While they get set up, I'm going to let you know that their show is this Sunday, January 28th, 8 p.m. at the Park Theater. For more information, you can head over to classic107.com. You'll find an article up there on the homepage pointing you in the right direction, or head to jazzwinnipeg.com. Jaime Carrasco and Jesse Krause Ensemble, Chilean and Mennonite Migrant Hymns. Here's one more.
Recuerdo Amanda, la calle mojada, corriendo a la fábrica donde trabajaba Manuel. La sonrisa ancha, la lluvia en el pelo, no importaba nada, ibas a encontrarte con él, con él, con él. Con él son 5 minutos, la vida es eterna, son 5 minutos, suena la sirena de vuelta al trabajo, y tú caminando, lo iluminas todos, son 5 minutos, te hacen florecer. Te recuerdo, Amanda, la calle mojada, corriendo a la fábrica donde trabajaba Manuel. La sonrisa ancha, la lluvia en el pelo, no importaba nada, ibas a encontrarte con él, con él, con él, con él, con él, que pateó a la sierra, que nunca la sirena de vuelta al trabajo, muchos no volvieron, tampoco Manuel. Amanda, la calle mojada, corriendo a la fábrica donde trabajaba Manuel.
.107 Live is Classic 107's intimate concert series, brought to you by Birchwood Jaguar, the art of performance.